Imagine a kingdom so powerful it once ruled Egypt itself yet today. Most people barely know its name. This was the Kingdom of Kush, Egypt's forgotten rival. For centuries, history painted Egypt as the lone giant of the Nile. But just beyond Egypt's southern border, in what is now Sudan, a fierce and resilient civilization thrived. Kush rose from the shadow of Egypt, but it was never merely a copy. It was a kingdom with its own culture, its own gods, astonishing achievements that rivaled Dand, sometimes surpassed the pharaohs. When Egypt weakened in the 8th century BCE, Kushite kings struck north. Led by King Pi, they conquered Egypt and became its 25th dynasty, the so-called Black Pharaohs. For nearly a century, Kushite rulers controlled the Nile from the Mediterranean to Central Africa. They restored temples, revived traditions, and claimed they were the true guardians of Egyptian religion. Yet outside of specialist circles, this dynasty is rarely mentioned. And Kush's power didn't stop with Egypt. At Meroë, their later capital, the Kushites built a royal cemetery with more than 200 pyramids, far more than Egypt ever raised. These pyramids, smaller but steeper, still rise from the Sudanese desert like sharp daggers of stone, a silent reminder that the Nile had two great civilizations, not one. What truly set Kush apart, however, was the extraordinary role of women. Their queens, known as Kandakes, wielded immense power. These were not passive figures hidden behind palace walls. They ruled, commanded armies, and even negotiated with foreign powers. One of the most famous, Queen Amanirenas, faced down the might of Rome itself. When Emperor Augustus tried to expand into Kushite lands, Amanirenas led her warriors into battle. The Kushites sacked Roman outposts and even carried away the bronze head of a statue of Augustus, which they buried beneath the steps of a temple, forcing worshippers to literally walk on the emperor's image. Rome was stunned. After years of fighting, Augustus did something rare. He signed a peace treaty that recognized Kush as an equal power. Few kingdoms in history could boast of humbling both Egypt and Rome, but Kush was more than warfare. Archaeology shows they developed advanced ironworking, creating a thriving economy at Meroë. Their trade network stretched across Africa, reaching deep into the interior for gold, ivory, and exotic animals. They exported these riches north to Egypt and across the Red Sea. This wealth supported a unique culture. Hieroglyphs were adapted into their own script, called Meroë, still undeciphered today, hiding secrets of their language and thought. And yet, for all their glory, Kush began to fade. Shifting trade routes, desertification, and pressure from rising powers like Aksum eroded their strength. By the 4th century CE, the great kingdom that had once ruled Egypt and resisted Rome crumbled into history. What remained was buried beneath the sands, overshadowed by Egypt's enduring fame. Today, the pyramids of Meroë still stand in the desert, but they are visited by far fewer people than the monuments of Giza. The story of the Kandakes, the warriors and the Black Pharaohs lingers at the edges of mainstream history. And so we re-left with a haunting question. How could a kingdom powerful enough to rule the pharaohs and defy Rome be so thoroughly forgotten by the world? Perhaps the sands of Kush still hold the answers waiting to be uncovered?